I'm trying to see if we can find that article. Can we? I'm trying to see if we can find that article. The point of what I'm saying is that if you guys understand how media works, trust me, I work in media. I know how this shit works. If you see one company get an exclusive video and 2 weeks later get an exclusive verifiable source, they're the person with the plug. CNN got the plug. This plug right here told me where they got the rest from. Okay? This plug is telling me that they got a lot of what's happened is that they're tapped in with the feds, right? Now, that might mean for you, oh, maybe the feds leaked that Cassie tape. Now, I still believe that that was Cassie and her team. However, I believe that she knew that this federal grand jury was coming, and because it might be, maybe she didn't sign whatever deal that she needed to sign yet, she needed to put it out because the feds had it on the table. The feds was saying, yo, Cassie, we seized a bunch of videos. You're in the videos fucking recruiting the bitches, having the bitches do all type of shit. You're the one that they're responding to. He's just jacking off in the corner. You seem like a co-conspirator. Yes, you got your ass beat, but you seem like a co-conspirator. She leaks that video publicly. Everyone looks at her as a victim. But why does she leak it at that time? And also, how does CNN get this information? They're tapped in with the feds. Okay? Here's the new information that just came out. It says a federal grand jury may soon hear from Sean Diddy Combs' accusers. Okay? It says federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of the music mogul before grand jury. Two sources familiar with the probe tell CNN. Now, let me just tell you this point blank period. The only way they could know this information with any source is from law enforcement, prosecutor, or so the USA prosecutor's office, or somebody familiar with that court that would be in the district of the Southern District of New York. So you have to have a federal court leak, a FBI HSI leak, or you're going to have, obviously also the witnesses could tell you that. So that's another thing to think about. The witnesses could also leak that. Like, hey, yo, some shit's about to happen. The feds have hit us to possibly go in. So going back to my original theory, either CNN's source is the feds. I think the feds, I think that's a good kind of, guess. But also, what's a great guess too is that the source is Cassie. How did this get out? And I'm going to tell you why it's only a few people that could notice possibly, right? It has to be the witness who got notified, the court that is going to be in, one of the jurors, but the jurors don't get the case yet, right? And they're supposedly secretive, right? So who the fuck would believe them if they're sending a random email? They don't got CNN connects, right? Or law enforcement, right? So who could have leaked the video? Law enforcement or Cassie? It's only two people. So it's law enforcement, so FBI, HSI, or Cassie that could have leaked the video, right? Who could have known about possibly grand jury? Cassie, HSI. Same two people. So whoever you want to believe, that's where that leak came from. For the people who believe that the hotel people leaked that video, this basically rules that out. It's impossible, okay? Now, I'm going to go off just media type shit. The mere fact that CNN has two exclusives, it tells me that they're talking to someone. And again, it could be and probably is Cassie, if you ask me. Cassie, well, actually, I can't even tell because I would say Cassie, but then leaking that video, now knowing you leaked the video 2 weeks before the grand jury is about to start happening, tells me that you maybe are hoping there's other witnesses or other people who suffered violence or whatever from Diddy to come forward that you could present. Okay. All right, let me get through this real quick because I know y'all want to talk about the ghostwriting shit. I'll do it in 15 minutes. All right, so And by the way, it says a spokesperson for Homeland Security declined to comment on the existence. Yes, the source could have been within Homeland Security. They're gonna officially ask, and they could deny it. So we can't deny. We can't like rule out that it's not HSI, right, or someone within FBI HSI. Even though I'm still saying it's Cassie. I think Cassie's leaked all this shit. Cassie and her lawyer has leaked all this shit. They leaked the first video of her getting her ass beat, which would make it very obvious to everyone that even if she is involved in allegations of helping to procure, groom, sexually assault or abuse other women, she was a victim herself. So that's what that one video did. Yo, I'm getting my ass beat by the nigga too. What the fuck are we talking about? Secondly, who would know that the witnesses have been contacted? Look, even though they say two sources, I don't know if we want to believe CNN to the T, says two sources, the witnesses have been notified. Who would be the main witness? Cassie. So again, Cassie would know about this too, right? So this is why reason I'm saying it's Cassie, bro. Come on. It's Cassie's team, right? Okay. So it says bringing individuals who have blah, 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 to, okay. Now, this is like an interesting thing. And I'm going to see if I can get like Myron on. I'll text him. I'll see if I can get him on. Yo, I'm going to see. I'm going to see if I can get him on. He could probably talk about this a little bit more. But I do want to give you guys a little bit of like background. So what this means here is we're now going to finally get to the point of maybe a few weeks. And that's why Bradford Cohen, who came on here, was like really accurate. We're probably a few weeks from finding out if Diddy is going to be indicted. Once the grand jury hears a case, they could hear the case for weeks. They could hear it for months. I think in the case of Trump, they heard it for maybe over a month, right? Depending on how many witnesses, depending on whatever. I'll explain the grand jury in a second. But after that point, they have to do a vote. And the vote's going to say, do we indict, which is going to be a true bill, or is going to be a no bill, right? No bill, there is no charges that they're going to bring. A true bill is going to be a true bill to the specific charges or allegations that they could bring, okay? I'm trying to explain to you guys the process because I think some people feel like he's already guilty. All it's just telling us is that the feds are taking they're taking steps. That's all they're doing. They're taking steps to get this guy locked up. Okay? Somebody says Cassie ain't have that video. I actually think she did. I think she had that video. That's why she got the settlement. I think she has not only that video, she has multiple other videos that probably didn't look good for Diddy and probably said to him, bro, I'm done playing with you. I didn't put it in the lawsuit, but you see I described it, nigga. Because keep in mind, she described that video to a T. And one person made a good observation. Let me ask y'all a question. If some shit happened to y'all in 2016, 7 years later in 2023, that's when she filed, would you have perfect memory of exactly what happened? Then I went outside. Then he came running. Then he turned the corner. Like, her memory is fucking perfect. Not saying she was drunk or none that she couldn't remember, but sometimes after you've, even as a victim, you've gone through steps of suppressing that information to very accurately bring that shit up in a lawsuit probably is signaling, nigga, I'm not only recollecting, nigga, I'm just looking at the tape. Do you get what I'm saying? So I believe she probably either had access to the tape or something of the sort. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said, yes, it's a traumatic experience. Okay, here's the point too, and we don't have to get into these arguments because I think all will reveal like very soon. The reason why I know she had the video, my nigga, she described shit that Diddy did that she would have never known. Yo, he came running down the hallway after, like, for all that we saw in video, what she would have known is I tried to sneak out and all of a sudden this motherfucker appeared. She described the video. She described the hallway scene. She described it. Do you get what I'm saying? She described it as someone watching a video Like for example, if I break out of something, I don't know what I break out of somewhere and I'm trying to get away and then somebody catches me. I don't know what they did to catch me. All I know is that they caught me because I'm me, right? But if you can see the video, it'd be like, oh yeah, they jumped over 3 fences, they ducked under some shit, yeah. Like she described it as it was a tape, not as if it was just her memory. That's important to know, okay? I think that makes sense. There's a lot of educated people in here, okay? All right. And we're not going to argue about trauma and shit like that. So I do believe she had the video, but I think she had multiple videos, okay? I think she had multiple other things that she probably kept, for whatever reason. Maybe from time to time, as women are, she probably used it to threaten. I don't know if she was using these things to threaten him during, but for whatever reason, when they broke up, I guess he thought everything was sweet, right? Okay. Anyway, let's get to the grand jury shit. And this is why the grand jury shit is important. So usually what happens in these cases, I know I have a couple of lawyers who watch me. You guys are in my DMs, so you guys could definitely hit my line if I'm saying something incorrect. Help correct, just correct my course in how I'm explaining this. When presenting the case is a very important time. Okay? You have to list the co-conspirators, the witnesses, the victims. And here's the thing, this is why it's interesting that the leak comes before this information. It seems like Cassie has just gotten either word or maybe she just signed her immunity deal, but she's gotten word that she's going to be the star witness, right? Obviously, we all thought she was going to be, but I think that video, I'm with Bradford Cohen, I think that video was leaked because maybe the government was probably either threatening her or angling to say, hey, yo, Cassie, to keep it real, we got a bunch of other victims. They're saying that you brought them there. They're saying that you gave them the drugs. They're saying you did some shit. You could be a co-conspirator. You leaked that video with Diddy. That's, the public will look at the FBI and HSI like crazy. Like, you charge Cassie? Are you fucking stupid? So that comes out. I think she signs her immunity deal. And then they notify her that they're ready to go in front of the grand jury. Let me tell you what a grand jury is, people. A grand jury is a secret proceeding. It's meant to be secret. It's very rare that you will ever hear the real inner workings of a grand jury, of what was presented. And there's a saying about a grand jury. In a grand jury, they say a prosecutor could indict a ham sandwich. Now, in a grand jury, they're not looking for proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Grand jury, actually, they're looking for, I believe, reasonable suspicion that a crime was committed. I think that's the exact term. Let's actually read it here. Grand jury, okay, so it's going to consist of 16 to 23 jurors. We're never going to know. It's private. That's another thing. It's private. We can't go on Pacer. We can't go on any type of thing to find out what happened there. You can't, okay? Also, this is something that usually that the person being investigated is not also invited to. They're not invited to testify. Only thing of their testimony or not testimony, really, anything that they would say would be used from, maybe they talk to the police. So their interrogation might be used. It's supposed to be fair, but the reason why they say you could indict a ham sandwich is because the defense isn't present. So a prosecutor goes before 16 to 23 people, tell all type of allegations and alleged facts. You're not there to defend yourself. By the way, there's no defense. Actually, in most grand jury proceedings, there isn't also a judge. So it's just a prosecutor running it. By the way, I don't know about the federal level, but on a state level, they usually hear more than one cases and they convene for sometimes up to 6 months. So they'll hear case after case after case, case after case after case, they vote. Case after case after case, vote. Case after case. You get what I'm saying? Their only job is not to say people are guilty, it's just to say, can we indict them of a crime? Okay? All right. So they consider multiple cases over the course of their term. They usually serve up to 18 months on the federal level, but could serve 24, which is 2 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Actually, no. So it's probable cause, actually. So actually they're looking for probable cause. By the way, probable cause is such like a, there's a scale of things. Look, probable cause versus reasonable suspicion, and obviously beyond a reasonable doubt. So to get somebody convicted in court, you need beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's how you get a guilty thing. To get someone charged, or usually to go to a search warrant, it's usually probable cause. Like probable cause, a lot of things. Like, for example, a cop comes up to your car, say weed was illegal wherever you at, he smells weed. That's probable cause for him to search your car. You get what I'm saying? And let me see. There's actually a scale of them. I don't know if I could find it in a really dope way. Reasonable suspicion is inclination or a hunch that criminal activity could have happened. Probable cause is going to be observing a situation based on reasonable suspicion that could lead to proof, and that's probable cause, right? And, beyond a reasonable doubt is going to be obviously, it's no other way, right? Okay. All right. I explained that because I'm trying to explain this grand jury process, right? So this is what's going to be happening. By the way, we shouldn't know this, but of course, CNN and everybody else got leaks. What does this tell me? This tells me that the courts finally are ready to, or not the courts, the prosecutors are finally ready to put forward this case to the grand jury. Now, let me tell you how the grand jury works. They're going to review all the charges. They're going to review the statutes for what would be grounds that these charges could exist on, and also why these charges could be applicable. If they feel like it's probable cause, they will vote for or no. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, here's the process that Diddy's about to go through. Let's say it's 23 jurors. And we'll Google this right now. How much of grand jury federally to indict? So it's a vote. So essentially, when you're on trial and it's 12 jury members, everyone has to say guilty or not guilty, or it's a mistrial. Everyone has to agree. That's beyond a reasonable doubt. Everybody agrees, right? In a grand jury, because it's probable cause, they want the majority. So for federal grand jury, you need 12 of the 23 to vote to indict. So pretty much, you just got to convince half the crowd. Keep in mind, an indictment only means you're going to trial. It does not mean anything else. It says it's a much easier, it's easier to meet the standard. By the way, there's another way how people can get indictment. There's another way without the grand jury to get an indictment, but usually the letter of the land most places is grand jury. Okay, cool. Typically, a grand jury is allowed to see and hear evidence, blah, 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 that would not be presented to a trial jury. Okay, so there's not much objections there because the defense isn't there. They get to view it any type of way they want. A lot of times they're going to be talking to, so like, let me extrapolate. 100% they're going to be talking, or Cassie is going to be on the stand. So Cassie is going to give a detailed report or a detailed testimony of what she went through with Diddy, the crimes she saw him commit, the crimes that she felt he inflicted on her, and every other victim and other people who probably have gotten a proffer or something of the sort. Anybody that might have evidence, they will be either, their arm might be twisted to testify. For example, if you're the guy who's working tech for Diddy, they might say to this guy, you better help us get all the video or else you're a co-conspirator. We'll do a deal with you. That said, we won't charge you, but you got to be at the grand jury and you got to explain what you did. Right? So all these things that happen, 12 out of 23, let's say 23 people convene, have to vote. And they have to vote. Somebody says 11:30. Hold on, give me a second. Just give me a second. Let me finish this, okay? It's gonna be quick. So that's where it's at. It's finally happened. Usually this process takes a few weeks, right? So if we're hearing now that they're telling the victims, we need you to come to court, within the next few weeks, they're going to have to be in court testifying. Their testimony is going to be added with evidence of what they found on security tape, other shit that the HSI has gotten over the years that they felt could add to this case. And I'm thinking this is going to take, let me see, right now this is pretty much the beginning of June. I don't think before July 4th, but I definitely think before, when's Labor Day? Is it like the end of August? Yeah, by the end of August or the beginning of September, I could see 100% that they're going to have a finding about this. Okay? Chat, just give me a second. Give me me like 10 more minutes. Give me 10 more minutes, okay? So, about, if you're wondering what's going to happen, by September, we're probably going to get something. Now, if nothing happens, and this is how the grand jury works, right? And this is from my understanding. I know I have some attorneys in here. You guys can help me out. If they choose to indict, there goes to what's supposedly a presentment, and they present, hey, these are the formal charges we're going to bring. A judge is going to sign off on it. That is now the DOJ is going to take that. They're going to print that on their website. Then there's going to be arrest warrants handed out. Then we're going to go through the process of him getting bailed, this and third. When's the trial is going to happen, if it's going to be one, right? However, there's a possibility that maybe everybody was lying on Diddy. And the grand jury hears all the shit and says, we don't think nothing happened. Because here's the thing also. You can't just present what's being said in a civil suit. A civil suit, you can say anything. Yo, he had 5 eyes. Nobody cares. Like, there's no, you don't have to prove that, especially in a complaint. Remember, none of these cases, even the civil ones, have gone to court. And even in civil court, there's way less of a burden of proof than it is in criminal court. Criminal court, you gotta know what you're saying. By the way, I'll make a bet with any of y'all. How much y'all want to bet that in this whole shit, Lil Rod is not in it? They ain't bringing that nigga on the stand. Based on what he said in his complaint, he gassed it up so much that it's probably gonna hurt the Fed's case than help. Cassie, 100% is. Some of these other women, I think maybe even April Lamprey, I think she is. Okay? But Lil Rod, there was too much salacious, gossipy, internet media shit in there, right? Okay, so what happens if they vote that there isn't enough to indict? It puts the feds in a really interesting position. It means that they just have to let Diddy walk, or, Diddy at that point would know, right? Or they would have to go find new evidence that wasn't presented to get a reason to try to go do the process again. But it would have to be significant amount of evidence. So they would have to find literally Diddy on tape doing some shit. Say they don't have it now, right? They would have to go find the smoking gun to present it again. You get what I'm saying? Now, the only thing with grand juries as opposed to a real trial, if Diddy gets charged for this and he beats it, he could never be tried again. The thing with a grand jury, you could go through that process again. However, they're not going to do the same grand jury process with the same evidence. They're going to have to need new evidence and more substantive evidence, okay? So I'm saying, no, I'm telling you, Lil Rod is not, I'm telling you, trust me on this. Also, speaking of which, right? Which, I think I kind of said, and, obviously, even when we talk about these cases, people are like, yo, Ak, well, what about you? I'll give you a scenario, and this is why I feel no, right? So when there was allegations about me, right? Because I'm a public figure, so I was told by the attorney that came to the prosecutor's office and everything. Because I'm a public figure, no DA wants to be the person that later gets embarrassed in the public on, why didn't you charge that guy? Is it because he's... No DA wants to do that. The DAs, because remember, these guys are running for public office, right? Like, you know what I mean? Even if they look at the shit like, ain't no evidence here, they don't want to do it, right? Especially, they don't want to be the person, so even if they don't want to charge somebody, they don't want to be the person to say, we're not going to do it. You know why? Say a victim gets popular later or makes the news and be like, yo, why didn't Act get charged? You know what happens? No matter if it's a lack of evidence, they present it anyway. So when people hear me say, the police declined to charge, this shit went to a grand jury. It went to a grand jury because I'm a popular figure. The grand jury declined. They said, no, there's nothing here. So the people voted like, no bill. So there's a bunch of people who be like, oh my God, no. So I know that process from there, but this is state, right? So I know that process. So they looked at the shit. It's not just the cops. The cops had to put it forward because they said he's a famous guy. If later on, it's like, imagine if there's someone like R. Kelly, right? And you're the DA who declined to charge R. Kelly. Then later on he gets charged. Nobody, like, you're done, right? They'll be like, nigga, yo, what the fuck would you do? So it's better off you have the grand jury do it. So the grand jury is going to, like, it's pretty much, this is the ultimate test, right? If the grand jury comes back and says there's nothing here, we're probably gonna have to look into, like, well, why do we think that he was that guilty? If all they need is probable cause to charge a nigga, like, why do we think the nigga's guilty? Do you know what I'm saying? However, if you ask me, and this is me guessing, it's just a guess, I believe that they have charges on him to not make the feds look bad, right? It's to make the feds not look bad. I think they're going to try money laundering, sex trafficking, like the RICO Act. These are such vague things that, you know, look at what Young Thug is going through. They're going to get a charge regardless. To me, it's almost impossible. Like, I know this is going to sound crazy to y'all. It would have been better if Diddy was only charged with not charged. If he was only accused of sexual assault. You know why? Because that is something that they could look at one incident and be like, oh, no, it wasn't. This is going to be such a convoluted web. There's no way he doesn't get indicted. Like, bro, I've never even heard of, and I've spoken to some people, like, not federal officers, but, like, I've spoken to some people like, yo, once they go into like RICO shit, bro, you could indict niggas on RICO for anything. All it takes for a RICO charge, a racketeering charge, is like, yo, did that nigga spend money? Was there interstate commerce? Are there victims? These are all check boxes for Diddy, right? And again, some of this is word of mouth. Like, some of these people are saying they're victims. I'm not defending Diddy. I'm just telling you, I don't see how he doesn't get charged, right? And I think it's because of how much these things have been trumped up to be more than just sexual assault or domestic violence. This is an accusation of sex trafficking and racketeering that is like, did he have a enterprise going on? Yes. Did he probably spend a lot of money recruiting people doing shit like that, whether they were with it or not? Yeah. That's all going to bear true, especially if you now have the women saying, oh, yeah, we weren't with that. Yeah, he's going to get charged. Like, I can't imagine a grand jury don't charge him. You know what I mean? They only need 50% of the vote. Like, 50% of the vote is, like, very, very low, right? It's all good. So that is my analysis of this. I do think that this grand jury will charge him. I know, like, I don't know how familiar some of y'all are with the grand jury process, but I tried to explain it just now. But it's a very low standard. It's a very low standard that I don't see him getting past. You get what I'm saying? All right, hold on. Okay. Somebody said, we do not care about Diddy. Jesus Christ. When y'all ready for Drake, y'all don't care about anything. Okay. All right. So I'll go to Twitter. Twitter is not the best place I like conversations at this moment, but it's important I go to Twitter to kind of get this kicked off and started. Thank you guys for tuning in, no matter where you're tuning in from. Let me see. Where are you guys tuning in from right now? Okay. So anyway. All right. Let me just search this first. So it's important for me to play this clip, right? Is there another one that was a little bit longer? Pause. I think it's just 57 seconds, right? Yeah, I think it's 57 seconds. Anything else that has a little longer thing? All right, it's okay. Anyway, so here's the truth and here's the reality about it. So, earlier this year, I remember being told about a possible reference track of Drake, and they said, "Yo, there is a reference track." And by the way, whether you guys want to admit it or not, there's a bunch of people who are in the industry. They watch the stream. Like, they know, we get to the bullshit. We do a lot of shit, but we talk a lot of things that's insider shit here. It's very exclusive. And these guys and these people who, some of them are well-reputed writers, but also some are artists, they watch my stream. As I talked about and I discussed, and this is why it came to, me. There was a conversation that we had on here where people were like, yo, Yachty wrote Jumbotron Shit Poppin'. And I said, I don't think so. And truthfully, I wasn't being facetious, and I just didn't think so. You get what I mean? I love the song. The song's really good. And, again, because maybe I'm a little bit so, used to Drake's cadence, his voice, I'm like, I hear what you're saying with Yachty, but, like, that's his friend. They probably do collaborate to some extent, but, like, nah. I get around some industry people, and they tell me, they said, we heard that conversation on your stream. They're like, are you serious or are you joking? And I'm like, I'm always, like, really honest with my feelings. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, what the fuck? Wait, you want me to believe that motherfucking Lil Yachty wrote Jumbotron Shit Poppin'? And they said, my nigga, he did. Word for word, bar for bar. Every fucking line. I'm like, nah. They're like, yo, They actually tried to, that moment. They tried to make some calls. They're like, yo, hold on, let's get this nigga. But they were like, yo, listen, we heard it. Now, these are people that had no reason to lie to me. So I was like, fuck. This exists. Now, I kind of knew that. Some subsequent conversations after that kind of got it confirmed. Never heard it, though. But then, Metro, the sloppy bitch he is, I heard he was trying to leak. And, of course, it came out during the battle. But for me, mentally, as a fan, and I keep telling y'all, I feel like I'm one of Drake's biggest fans. I was like, oh. When I heard his version, I heard Drake's version, I was like, whatever. I was actually really surprised the culture didn't really make a big deal of that, because previously we had made a big deal of a lot of songs that we found out that Drake had assistance on. Okay? 10 bands. Started from the bottom. And a bunch of other more. Now, just stay with me. We're going to get to the mob ties thing. But I've had to have growth and development as in two ways. One, I'm a fan. And I know I feel like sometimes y'all try to shame me for being a fan because I have all the access in the world. Like, I talk to Drake and the biggest artists in the world. I could just hit them and we talk, right? But there's something very innocent and something very pure about what I do that no matter, even if I talk to these guys, I still get to feel how I feel as a fan. As a fan, very important. So Jumbotron Shit Poppin', I was like, I don't give two fucks about it. I mean, it's a nice bop, but whatever. Not gonna lie, if we go back to the last wave of reference tracks, I probably felt a little bit more about Legend. That's one of my favorite songs, even to this day. Party Next Door, who created that song. When I heard Drake first sing that song, he says, "If I die, I'm a legend." I feel like it was almost a guy at his prime, almost predicting, which we've always seen in every movie, the guy at the top predicting the end. And I was like, yeah, that's Drake. Then I realized it was Party. Over time, I realized that Drake and Party have a symbiotic relationship when it comes to music. Even though I've constantly said before in the past, this motherfucker definitely, an OVO sweatshop. These two do share records. These two do collaborate in a different way that I'm going to be honest with you, and some of y'all want probably me to jump out the window, but unless Party explicitly says he's had a problem with his collaborations with Drake, I have to feel like they're two people collaborating. Now, let me get to this part before, and yes, we're going to get to the mom ties part. Just let me speak. So, as a fan, and when you're an outsider, and me being a fan, I like being an outsider. I don't like knowing, people be like, yo, you still ain't meet Drake? I'm cool. As a fan, I'm cool with not meeting Drake. As Akademiks, the industry insider, yeah, I want to meet Drake. But Akademiks, the fan, I'm cool with not meeting Drake because Drake to me is the music. I've created Drake in my mind as what the music has given. Same with other artists, so it's not a Drake glaze. It's like Travis Scott is Travis, the musical palette of Travis. Thug is the musical palette. And that's what being a fan is. I don't want to have a weird parasocial relationship with Drake. A lot of y'all are very guilty of that. I don't need that. Now, if I want to do my job real good, of course, I want to be cool with the guy and get some inside info grade. But I just want the music, right? One thing that musical fan perspective doesn't allow for is for us to understand how music is created. And this is where, I think Drake, this is going to sound like a Drake glaze, but I'm being very honest too. I was flabbergasted. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I probably didn't shed a tear. When I heard them reference tracks for the first time in 2015, I was very hurt. Because I was a very naive fan at that point. That I believed that every song and every lyric and every bop and every ad-lib and every cadence and every hook came from the brain of the person that sung it. I thought that unless you were like Rihanna or Beyonce. That isn't true. That isn't true. Now, a part of this kind of then mixes my job with my fandom because as I see people react to collaborations, to people doing songs together, they're like, oh my God, he got a hook from him? Yo, he got an idea from... Yeah, as a fan, we don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that shit. I want to think that my favorite rapper than everything is motherfucking self. That ad-lib, that little skirt, ooh, that's fire. Oh, that's why you're so good. That is not the truth. Now, I'm not going to use this moment. And I got reference tracks. I'm going to tell you this right now on my computer right now because it's hit play. You would hear songs you would never think were references. But I won't do that. This isn't the time because that would be a bigger glaze. When Drake gets under fire, you throw 10 other artists under the bus. No. Evolving as a fan is realizing that the music creation process is very intricate. Some of your favorite hooks have came from the producer who can't rap. Has came from other people in the studio. Has came from maybe a writing camp. Not just one artist, but the majority of artists. Y'all gonna get mad. Y'all are gonna get mad. I know y'all gonna get mad because what it is that we're only hearing, seemingly, with the exception of Future we just seen, Which, by the way, think about this. Remember when I was quote unquote glazing Future? I was like, yo, the reason why Drake don't even go hard at Future and nobody from Atlanta want to stick up for Drake, Future is the great nigga. I was glazing like a motherfucker. Pause. Future is the greatest hit maker. He's just all talent. He does. Then we hear a reference track for him. It sounds good when our narrative is that Drake is the only one doing this. The reality of music is music post, and I don't want to put a time on it, but I want to say 2010s and up. I don't even want to say Kanye introed it, because I could go back to when Kanye was a producer. There's songs that Kanye gave the hook for when he was just a producer, when they wouldn't let him rap. And nobody look at those rappers any different. I'm not here to tell on people. So I guess what I'm saying, and then we'll get to Mob Ties, is if you are a fan that believes your favorite rapper has created or has sung or every genius bar, melody, play on words, triple entendre, hook, bridge, pre-chorus is only from them, I bless you and I give you all the credit for having that delusion, because it feels good to do that. As a fan, it feels good. It's like watching wrestling. It felt good thinking that Stone Cold Steve Austin was drinking 10 beers and stunnering 30 niggas, and they couldn't fuck with him. And when he stuttered them, they couldn't get up until, yeah, it sounded good. What I'm speaking to is the reality of music creation. The reality of music creation is that there is no hit maker that has been on top, and I won't even put the time limit of 10 years. No, not even that. For 4 or 5 years or more, that has never taken a hook from somebody else. Again, this isn't the time that I could use to clearly show y'all, yo, you know so-and-so wrote this, right? You know so-and-so wrote this, right? Hey, here's this. This is not that time. Now, this is not me also making excuses, because we're going to get to that. But the first and foremost thing I have to let you know is that part of making music is artists utilizing help. Reference tracks has been a part of music, even rap, for as long as you could think about. Hearing the reference tracks is very different. By the way, I'll even tell you another secret. I got 3 artists. Well, obviously none of them they're not known as better rappers like as Drake. But the only reason why you haven't heard, if you think Drake is bad, you would think they'd be 10 times worse. Because all their biggest songs is written by, and some of them, you know the people. This is where Drake, I think, fucked up. Drake utilizes people outside of his camp. If anybody is familiar, and I don't want to call names, with some of your favorite musicians, we know 1 to 2, maybe 3 of the real people who are collectively coming together to make those hits. You know them too. You've seen these motherfuckers' names in the credits. Why is this nigga's name there? He's not on the record. He ain't doing shit. He ain't in the ad-lib and he don't produce. He wrote it, nigga. He referenced it. He gave the hook. So the problem isn't really that people use or utilize help. The problem is hearing the shit. But that matters too. What I believe Drake is definitely guilty of, I think Drake, in a desperate attempt to pursue hit songs, have worked with people outside of his camp. And also, I don't know how this even gets leaked, even when he works with people in his camp, because let me be honest, when I see Drake and Party Next Door doing records, Drake has done references for Party. Party has done references for Drake. I almost don't give a fuck if they do references for each other. They're in the same camp. They're almost it's like a think camp or a think tank in terms of records. I don't care Party and Drake. But of course it looks crazy when you see, what the fuck, Quentin Miller? What the fuck, Vori? That does look crazy, right? And I think that's one of Drake's problems. Drake, in trying to find new styles, new bops, new melodies, new pockets, opens up his creative process to people outside. Okay, let's get to the Mob Ties part now. So the first part is me telling y'all, if your problem is with reference tracks, you're going to be heartbroken because, trust me, and not, I don't have no vendetta against no artists. If the whole game now becomes, did you help this person to write this or did you do it yourself? There's a lot of motherfuckers you're going to realize this song is really this nigga's song and he heard it and he took it and whatever. Anyway, so the Mob Ties thing, let me play my comment on the Joe Budden podcast and then we'll get into it directly, right? So first and foremost, I had heard really from this stream, and salute to my man Fax and a few other people from Discord. They were like, yo, Vori wrote Mob Ties. I kind of did a little due diligence. I heard a little bit more rumbling. And I went on the Joe Budden podcast. I think this was right after 616 dropped. And I said this. Atlanta Studios, we've heard Jumbotron shit popping word for word. It's Yachty. And I remember saying, nah, shut up. And I've heard it for a while. They were like, yo, trust me, he's floating around. It's going to leak. So when Metro dropped it, like, I already kind of had an idea about that, but I was like, it's Jumbotron shit popping, whatever. But I did hear about that maybe he got some help on Mob Ties. And I ain't gonna lie, Mob Ties was a song that I felt that was Drake with his back against the wall. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, Drake here, right? It felt away. Like, because I spent all night looking for it. Like, apparently there was a snippet. They said Vori wrote that.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying?
I love the song.
Yeah, like that, I would be like, that would hurt my heart. Now, back to back, I'd be devastated. Like it would have to be something like that to get me back in the
Duppy freestyle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd be devastated.
See what I'm saying?
I'd be devastated.
Any of the timestamps.
Yeah, any of the timestamps. Yeah. Okay. So let me clarify my thoughts on this. So obviously we've now heard, and here it is. If you guys don't know, this is the Mob Ties reference track.
Say. Yeah.
That is Vori.
Yeah. Say. Stick to these niggas. Stick to these bitches. Hire shooter. You ready to be bitches. And I'm on my riches. I turn out the bitch. I turn out the bridge. It is what it is, sure. Black Porsche, cause I let my movie fast.
Now, I don't want to get copywritten on here, but what's important to note is that the hook is taken pretty much as is, and then the verses are slightly changed. There's a couple words changed, maybe slight ad-libs, but pretty much the core of the song is Vori, right? And that's the hook and the flow. That's it, right? Drake added some verses, honestly not the most spectacular verses, but they were cool, and they worked for the song. And yeah, now, obviously, number one, I do realize this is still the era where even though the battle, isn't ongoing as people might think it is, people are still using or looking for reasons to down Drake. So people have tried to use me consecutively to try to be like, oh, if Axe says this, Drake's really down bad. And that's one thing. I don't really like that, but whatever. I will also respond to that, though. But based on what I said, and also based on the track that came out, this is exactly how I feel about this Mob Ties reference track. As a true fan of Drake, I was hurt. And I was disappointed. And I'm still disappointed. And the reason why I'm disappointed is not because the record was referenced by Vori. The reason why is because I look at Drake as a hit factory. And if you're gonna, It's a reason why half of these niggas take so long to produce music. Drake is like McDonald's for music. Like, hit. Now, keep in mind, if Drake is fucking 10 bitches a week, he's at courtside 3 times a week, he's in Turks like for 6 months. Like, it's impossible that I know Yachty came and told me the story of him writing what's that shit called? Churchill Downs in like 11 minutes. But bro, like, creativity just doesn't come that quick. It just doesn't, right? It takes time to come up with this. So as a fan, and this is just me as a fan, I've realized that, that's why I'm not mad at the Jumbotron shit popping. Yeah, Drake ain't gonna write every record, right? And he's like, if we like that type of Drake, a lot of us want that, and we can't be hypocrites neither, right? The same thing I praise Drake for, I can't get mad at him for. Why do I praise him? I say, yo, Drake, I'm glad that you don't take 3 years to create a fucking song. You know who does? Kendrick and them niggas. Part of that is probably, I'm gonna keep a bop out there. Now, maybe you say I'm splitting hairs here, but I look at Jumbotron shit popping, even Mob Ties, in the same kind of ilk as a lit song, but I'm still disappointed because when it comes to times that Drake got his back against the wall or got a distinct message to send, I expect that to come from the artist himself. That's a fact. I expect that to come from his frustration, his aggression, his just, these niggas, like when I heard, you got to remember, this is coming after the whole thing with Pusha T. And he's thinking, he's been saying the whole game against him, Jay-Z, now we see Kanye and this and other people. So he's like sick of these. I'm expecting that to be an innate thought. I'm not expecting him to be a person who's picking out of a catalog to be like, hey, what song sounds good that I could put out? No, I'm not expecting that. And that's my disappointment. It's not the fact that the record, because the record ain't that lyrical. The record ain't that lyrical, just to be very clear. It's a bop. And by the way, I also have to apologize to Vori because I should have knew this shit was going to come. Because after there was a clip, where I spoke about what I don't like about this rap game. Wait, hold on. Here we go. No. There's a clip where I was talking about it.
Do some fucking internet detective activity, bro. See if you can find a Vori reference.
Okay, he is credited, but he ain't write nothing, nigga. I want to apologize to Vori, and I kind of knew something was gonna happen or come, because Vori messaged me after this, and Vori said, "Ak, you're one of my favorite bloggers. It's crazy that people are sending me videos of you, speaking ill of my name." And I was like, "No, I wasn't trying to speak ill of your name. I was just, my GOAT is Drake, and I don't think Drake would need you for a fucking record. I'm sorry." And after hearing the record, I'm wrong. I'm here to say I'm wrong. It's fine. I am wrong. This song was the brainchild and the creation and the genius of Vori. This was a genius of Vori with the addition of Drake's performance and him coloring within the lines. That's what this was. Drake did his thing. Drake, of course, I don't think none of these, by the way, this is an amazing reference too. Like this reference, I actually think, some of the Party references, I think people sleep on Party a bit. I think Party were creating those knowing that they were never going to go out. So people be like, damn, that sounds flat. Like even Legend just sounds so flat. Then when Drake performs, it sounds so great. Yeah, it sounds fucking mixed and mastered in $1 million studio. Duh, and like with the best shit ever. So Drake's version is 10 times better. And even though I think Drake's version of Mob Ties is still better than Vori's, Vori's is fire. I think if Vori dropped this track himself, it's still a hit. Still a hit. So anyway, I did want to apologize to Vori for that because, that was the fan in me. And that was the fan in me not wanting to believe that a song that, when I think about that era, and I'll pull up Scorpion for y'all. When I think about that era where people were saying that Drake lost his first rap battle, man, I love that album, bro. That album's classic to me. Like, if you guys have been listening to me, I've been saying this album's classic to me. It means so much to me because I do think it takes something special. Remember, even like recently with this whole Kendrick shit, I'm like, I can't wait for Drake's next project. You know why? Bro, it's something when the greats backs are against the wall, they provide the greatest shit they could do. When you listen to this album, Survival, even the fucking motherfucking titles is telling a story. Survival, Nonstop, Elevate. Like Emotionless. Like Emotionless is a song that I've played. I used to just play at nausea, and I was just like I felt the feeling that I would believe you would have in that moment of all these things happening turbulent in your life. Right? You know, God's Plan, that's a bop. I'm upset. I don't really care too much for that song. 8 out of 10, yeah, that's one of those two. But Mob Ties is one too. Mob Ties is one and Can't Take a Joke. So, just truthfully, man, I was disappointed that didn't come from Drake. I was. And you know, I'm going to be honest, it was hard to sleep for the last 2 nights. It was. Because all I kept hearing was Vori just screaming in my ear. And I'm like, Vori, stop. Yeah. You know, as I go down the rabbit hole of thinking about the track, I start to think many things. I'm like, to me, this was a comeback album. To me, this was the fuck a battle, I'm bigger than that. To me, this was the home run album. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, first of all, Duppy Freestyle was so fire. Like, yeah, okay, you didn't respond, but like, bro, you came back with the biggest songs in the fucking world. It was a step back for me a little bit. I'm like, damn. Yeah, I was a little bit hurt. I was a little bit hurt by it. I still love the song, and I love Vori's version. I love Drake's version, but you know, my timeline and my storyline of Drake's career, when it got to this point, them records meant something to me. Like, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Like, Survival, if Drake didn't do that, nigga, of course I'm motherfucking hurt. Elevate, of course. Yo, Emotionless, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably would just have to just like, I don't even know what I would, if I found out Drake didn't write, and now, granted, here's the thing, because I think some people want me to have an indictment against Drake's whole career. Yeah, I'm disappointed about the track, but Drake's a phenomenal fucking artist. I know he's a phenomenal fucking artist. I know he's a legendary, all-time great GOAT. Some people want to use this to be like, oh, he's eliminated. No, he's not eliminated on no conversations. He's not. To me, he's still the GOAT. However, it doesn't mean that I can't criticize these songs. And they're still great songs. But it loses the personal touch that I used to connect to that song with, that I thought Drake felt. I thought Drake felt exactly how he felt on Mob Ties, like, yo, man, let me just fuck up all these niggas. Fuck them. Even if he thought that the sentiment, the energy wasn't created by him. And I look at the song a little bit different, still a bop. I'm like, just gotta keep it honest. Now, granted, here's the thing. Let me think about this. Like, if he didn't write Jaded, I don't give a fuck if he didn't write Jaded. Nice for What? I don't give a fuck if he didn't write Nice for What. In My Feelings, I don't give a fuck if he didn't write that. Just to kind of let you know how I look at shit as a fan. These songs, I don't care. In My Feelings, who cares, right? But Mob Ties, it was just something about that, bro. I'm not going to call Mob Ties up there with headlines, but if I found out Drake ain't write headlines, that would hurt me too. What? Oh. Now, this is what happens, though, intuitively. And this is where us Drake fans have to be honest. We all know Drake's an amazing writer. We all know how great he is. But when these things get exposed, we can't just be like, oh, no, the conversation. Like, some people are trying to have the conversation, even though I think facetiously, oh, well, what did he write? Well, shit. I believe he wrote the majority. I believe he wrote 90% of his catalog, if you ask me. Right? I believe all the lyrical records, I believe he wrote, honestly. But now when people try to throw this in as an asterisk again, because I do think he got past the asterisk. that shit that Meek Mill tried to do, I think he got past it. And I think this was like the first thing that people were like, wait, should we think about that again and put it into a different perspective? Somebody says 90% I think is crazy. I do think 90%. Somebody says, why is Drake the only rapper that got exposed? Bro, I don't know, bro. Bro, like, if I sat here and told you some of the, but some of these songs ain't even like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never heard no lyrical tracks really get credited to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like I've never heard a Kendrick lyrical track got credited to someone. I've heard rumors that Kendrick, like a hook for a song was demoed by some random nigga and Kendrick adopted it. Now, maybe if you hear the reference, which I don't know if it was a reference, maybe you're like, oh my God, Kendrick exposed. But it's like, no, that's kind of like song creation, right? That's how I look at it to me. Have I heard that anything with Kendrick lyrical has ever been? No, hell no. Have I heard that about Drake? No. Have I heard about Cole? No. Actually, I've never heard nothing about Cole, to be very clear. But some of these other artists, you know, again, I think it just goes back to two things. Either Drake has a lack of care because he seems to be the only one exposed, or maybe he's just too big, pause, and that's why he's getting exposed. Or just perhaps, you know, he's at the point where he knows even if you know that some of these records he didn't like think of or create himself, like at least the initial thought, we're still gonna love it. You know, when I was on the Joe Budden podcast, I said something about Drake that I don't think people got when I said it. I said that when they were talking about Drake and they were like, yo, why is Drake still rapping or singing about 21-year-old girls? And I said, Drake to me, and this is why I'm glad that, like, I don't look at Drake as the person Drake. I don't look at Drake as a 37-year-old man running around. I look at Drake as almost like a genre and an entity. Now, nothing to do with a god or nothing like that, because that's an entity. I look at Drake as he's the guy who fits the bill of making music that serves these emotions and makes music for 20-something-year-olds. That's it. Even now, I think, like I said to someone recently, I said, yo, if you really, like, Drake makes music not for 30-year-olds, not for 40-year-olds. He makes music for people who are living their early 20s lifestyle. And yeah, for example, I'm in my 30s, right? Yeah, you could almost like, it's almost like nostalgic a bit, but then, you know what I identify the most with Drake these days? When he talks success, because I'm in the success era of my life. When you're in your 30s, that's when you get like a lot of success, usually as men, right? So that's what, but like these days when he's talking about a 21-year-old playing him, I don't understand with that, you know what I mean? Or maybe I should, I don't know. Anyway, the point what I'm trying to say is that like there was a time where Drake used to, you know, I remember when I was like 22 and Drake was rapping about, yo, I'm fucking up on the double cheek kiss, right? And that was like the vulnerability that Drake had at the point. And then eventually Drake got to be the guy, and Drake stopped rapping about as much vulnerability as he would rap about, yo, I'm just running through these bitches. And you would hear vulnerability, but it would be on a R&B level. It was very different. I realized that Drake's music wasn't gonna age into 30s. Like, you know, I've said this before. Drake got to the fork in the road, and he chose Tootsie Slide. He chose, I'm gonna keep serving the youth, and for all the motherfuckers who are 30s, if you're in your 30s and you've been rocking with me, nigga, go listen to Take Care. Go listen, like it's like what Hov said. You like my old shit? Go buy that, or go listen to that. So I've looked at Drake as, you know, I'm not co-signing his lifestyle choices. Who cares about his lifestyle choices? But his music, I think his music is meant for 20-something-year-olds. I don't think he's making music for 30-something-year-olds. And I think that's, you know, a lot of music in general that is lit and contemporary aims towards that crowd. So that's why I say Drake's just Drake's a thing. He's like a thing that creates hit songs, quotables, and whatever else. He turns it out for that demographic. Does that make any sense? Black Cotton says, nigga, that's weird. I don't know if that's weird necessarily. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's weird? This is gonna be maybe a very different. Do you think it's weird when PewDiePie was 30 or I don't know, late 20s entertaining teenagers? His content is teenage content. His content ain't meant for 20-year-olds. He never grew with his content. His content's always meant for kids. Ninja's content is always meant for kids. Like, he was trying to advance after a while because he's older now, but it's meant for kids. You get what I'm saying? There's Drake, I've realized, is meant for people in their 20s, men and female alike. Dudes who are first, like, trying to, like, you know, getting themselves, like, starting to kind of, you know, grow into themselves and dating and experiencing heartbreaks and disappointment, but some triumphs, and then those women who are associated, which are usually in the same age bracket. I think that's what Drake's music is, honestly. Like, to be honest, if Drake created like a 444 in terms of him kind of talking about, you know, just being at a different stage of his life, I would be fucking shocked. I think Drake made an album, was it last year or the year before? It's called Certified Lover Boy. What the fuck you expect from the nigga? You know what I mean? Like, put like this. If I told you a nigga is saying he's a certified lover boy, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's 25, clearly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I've realized that Drake's music, y'all need to detach. Well, I've detached from the man. I've put it in this realm of he's like an entity create music for a finite group of people that recycles itself. So everybody who graduates college, his music is going to hit the hardest till you hit your 30s and you start having kids. Then you're like, damn, Drake, how you still rapping about getting bitches in the club? Nigga, we got child support. Damn, nigga, we got to get a babysitter. Yeah, he ain't talking to y'all. Y'all niggas who got to get babysitters, y'all knee hurt when y'all play basketball, your back hurt, you using Bengay. He ain't talking to y'all. He talking to the new bitches who's getting fucked, the new niggas who got a little bit of bread, getting sections in the club. You know what I mean? He's talking to them. Really think about it. Just think about it. Somebody said proving Kendrick right. That's another thing that I think some of y'all are hemmed up on. Kendrick don't determine what Drake is. Drake is Drake. Kendrick added some shame to what Drake is. You're right. But I don't think Drake needs to change who he is. Like, Drake has picked this path. The nigga picked the path. We want, like, if Drake, the biggest L I think Drake could take is if Drake changed his music and his focus because Kendrick forced him to, yo, I see the boy, but where's the man? So now he's like, oh, let me rap about some man shit. No, nigga. Nigga, your name is the boy, nigga, you've been rapping about, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you've been rapping about bagging 24, 25-year-olds for the last 8 years, nigga. If he stopped doing that, now I ain't saying that there's nothing wrong with if he stopped doing that, but I think he's identified. If you're not identifying with this new generation, you're in the fall off category. And I think that's how he's not falling off. Like, he's, you know, or at least on a pop level, because, you know, obviously I'm not saying like Kendrick or Cole that's fallen off, even though Cole just did a song called Grippy. That shit was crazy. I savor his grippy. I'm like, what the fuck? What is Cole doing? It's all good. All right. So, have I clarified my thoughts on Mob Ties? I am disappointed because it felt like the focus of the song. It's not lyrically. For the people who means it's an indictment that he's not. Bro, I'm sorry to tell you, I will still sit here and argue you till you die that Drake lyrical records are better than Kendrick lyrical. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I will still sit here and argue. But have I acknowledged that some of these popular, trendy songs that have been created by or being helped or collaborated with other people. Yeah. My only thing with this record is I wanted this to be him. 100%. This one record, I wanted I'll tell you some other records that I'm like, nigga, this needs to be you, because every 3 or 4 years, niggas try to cancel Drake. And he always comes, like, he hits back with the craziest shit, right? Let's go to views, right? Oh, well, this is almost like a timestamp record, so I guess this wouldn't count. Because I was about to pull up, what do you call it again? I was going to pull up Her Loss. Not Her Loss, I mean, Simmons record, More Life. I think Do Not Disturb. But, like, Do Not Disturb is like a timestamp record. Let me pick out some records that I'm like, even though they're not lyrical, right? And by the way, to this day, we haven't heard no lyrical records of Drake being leaked. But I'm going to be honest. Okay, here we go. I'll tell you. First of all, Hold On, We're Going Home. One of Drake's biggest record. We know, I think everybody, that's Magic Jordan, right? Yeah, we don't give a fuck. All right, we're not going to use Tuscan Leather. That's lyrical. Let's just see records that we're like, oh my God, if this ain't him. Let's go to Take Care. Not a lyrical record, but I'm going to be honest with you. I would cry tears if he ain't right. Look What You've Done. I would cry tears, like just bawl. I would bawl. Look What You've Done to me is such a personal record, right? And I think that's what we have to, like, me, I know you guys here for me to either have a glaze-a-thon or just throw him under the bus. I still think he's a phenomenal lyricist. I still think he's a writer for himself and others, but I've also believed people have helped him write. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, no, he's just done it as a island. I would like to think, and that's where my disappointment comes to Mob Ties, that certain records, though, you could know. Like, bro, who cares if the motto, like, it's the motto. Who gives a fuck, right? But doing it wrong? Oh, well, these are R&B records, kind of. So maybe I should chill with these. But Look What You've Done. There's a lot of rapping on that. Look What You've Done. I'd be hurt. Headlines. I'd be hurt. Let me see. I'm not even going to say Marvin's Room because that's like R&B, right? Let's go to the next album. Nothing Was the Same. Let's see. Where's the track list to this? Tuscan Leather, that's rap. Nah, of course I'd be hurt. Like, that's a different level, though. Like, if Drake can't write Tuscan Leather, like, nigga, I'd be in tears. Let me see what else. What record on here? I'm like, it's not lyrical, but I feel like it's him. Because I've gotten into the story of Drake, right? Like, it's like watching a movie, right? Let's go to views. What's on views? Yeah, I think it's just mostly the lyrical records, right? Like, because Western Road Flows, like, if you ain't write Western Road Flows, like, y'all got it, bro. Now, if you ain't write Controller, I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. I don't care if you don't write Controller. I don't care if you didn't write One Dance. I don't care if you didn't write Pop Style, which I think, didn't somebody else help write it? Whatever. Fire and Desire, like, I look at his R&B shit differently. And Hotline Bling, of course, nigga, took drum shit. Fuck that nigga. No disrespect, drum. I think Mob Ties is probably the first, like, reference track I've ever heard. I'm like, it was like a gut punch. I'm like, I thought that was my man's. Let me see Certified Lover Boy. Let me see. I think Poppy's Home. Yeah, if you write Poppy's Home and Champagne Poetry, I'll be a little bit hurt. I'll be a little hurt. Let me see what other song. Obviously, 7 a.m. on Bridal Path. Obviously, knife talk too. Yeah, definitely not knife talk. I don't know, man. It's like it's put me in an interesting and weird position. Who cares about honesty? Never mind. And then for all the dogs, but most of these are like R&B songs. So apparently, this calling for
Nothing even surprises me anymore when Diddy's name is brought up. Now, new allegations about Diddy came up of him, you feel me, sexually assaulting a female from back in like 2003 or something. Nothing even surprises me anymore. But even though it's wrong what Diddy did, one thing I really want to say is a lot of these men who are in power from back then and even now, they all do the same things. Like Diddy's just being outed right now. It's literally all of them that do the same thing. Like, especially the ones in power. Like, oh, you want this role? Come do this. You want that? Do this. You feel me? So, hey, a lot of allegations are gonna come a lot. A lot of people, you feel me? And part of me thinks in my head, like, why don't these people come and like speak up and stuff? But then, first off, I think like during those times, first people won't care. Second, the lawsuit won't go through. And but like right now is a perfect time. Like Diddy's name's in the light. All these other allegations close to what you're claiming is like technically true. You feel me? Video proof is starting to come out. So who knows what else that Diddy did? But every single time I see this album, I always think about, damn, what about Jay-Z? Could anything come out about Jay-Z? I don't know why I always think that. But hey, man, just make sure you keep your family away from people like Diddy. And I don't blame her for not, you feel me, coming up saying anything, because someone like Diddy, it seems like Diddy just, we don't know. He doesn't seem like his mind works like a normal person. So, hey, I don't really want to disrespect Diddy though. Feel me? Main reason why I said I'm not surprised that she doesn't want to speak up is because I heard Diddy blows up cars and stuff like what he did to who's the dude that cars his hair that's close to Kanye? Whatever his name is, I forgot. Kid Cudi. Yeah, I'm good. Just leave Diddy alone, man. He has all the light on him right now. You better pray that 5-10 years doesn't pass and you feel me, he makes it, he thinks in his head, okay, it's time to get this person, that person knocked off. We better pray, because that's the type of person that Diddy seems like. So hey man, it's your boy Big Act News, and yeah, I'm out.